I didn't intend to have a relationship with this person. I did not know in the beginning that this person had children. When the situation progressed, you know what I did? I called my support system. I said, listen, I got a situation here. I'm talking to this person. I just found out, that they have children. Basically, she showed up with them. We were going out to dinner, and I was saying, whoa, worst dinner I ever had, in the best place that you could possibly have.
We are about to watch a Connecticut parole hearing for a man who is a serial repeat offender against those who are the most vulnerable in our society, children. They don't go much into the details because it's, another lousy Connecticut parole hearing. But at the end, I'm going to unpack information that I think is going to leave you livid. But with that, let's jump in.
Sir, please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Spencer McGee, number 276260.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. This is a hearing being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Mr. Spencer McGee, inmate number 276260, who is serving a total effective sentence of 3 years jail. This is a flat sentence for the charges of violation of probation. Underlying charge being 4-count sexual assault first degree, threat of force, and then also 2 counts sexual assault second degree and 2 counts risk of injury to child. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of August 1st, 2023. This is at 50% eligibility. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for this offender. It has been reviewed and shows that the offender has not completed any programming. The offender, however, has been actively engaging in vocational education, electronic manual programming, and presently remains on the Department of Correctional waiting list for general referral for addiction services unit and 5 or 7 day job assignment. And that's according to the RT3 inquiry. Utilizing statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the SRT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Utilizing the static 99R, the offender's overall score for sexual offense recidivism fall within the low moderate range. All right, Mr. Spencer, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
I don't. At this point, I've been through this system on this same situation now for over 20 years. It doesn't seem like what I say matters to anyone. It doesn't seem like what I do matters to anyone. I'm a believer. The Bible says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemies and my foes, come to eat up my flesh, they stumble. I don't have anything against anyone here personally. I've never met any of you. But this system that I'm in, I don't even have the words to say about how I feel and what I feel about this system and this process. I know this. I know who Spencer McGee was in 1999, and I know who he is in 2024. And they're 2 completely different people. I could say a whole lot, but I read the Game of Thrones, and one thing they say is words are wind. Just say what you want to say. I believe that your actions prove who you are. Though I am here on a violation, I'm not here to reiterate the case or refight the case. If this wasn't a violation, I did exactly what I was taught to do. If you wound up in a situation that you felt was of danger, report it to your officer. That's what I did. And I feel like I was punished for doing the right thing. So at this point, what do I say? you know, again, I'm not here to rehash 20+ years worth of judicial process. What I will say is that there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about this situation. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about the people involved in this situation and how it affected them. I'm not gonna sit here and cry, though that is in me. But I've shed tears for 20+ years. Is shedding tears gonna undo the situation? If it could, the situation wouldn't be here now. What will make the situation go away? I guess the reasonable answer is nothing. What do we do from this point on? Live better. I was home for 5.5 years. After doing 7 years, 6 months, and 21 days. I started out at a Dunkin' Donuts. I had never worked at Dunkin' Donuts in my life. I became the manager of the busiest Dunkin' in the state of Connecticut. The year we came in, I did $2.5 million in sales and was being trained to be a district manager. I had consistent housing. I had 3 automobiles during the time that I was home. I established family bonds. I established friend bonds. So how did we end up here? The one thing you don't know how to do is what you haven't done. I had never did a 17-year bid and had to go home and try to introduce myself to people and say, you know, this is who I am. And especially with what I had over me. So I did the best that I could. I told people that I thought needed to know the situation that I ended up in. I didn't intend to have a relationship with this person. I did not know in the beginning that this person had children. When the situation progressed, you know what I did? I called my support system. I said, listen, I got a situation here. You know, I'm talking to this person. I just found out, you know, that they have children. Basically, she showed up with them. We were going out to dinner, and I was saying, whoa, worst dinner I ever had, in the best place that you could possibly have it. And so, you know, I called my family because I trust their opinion. I said, listen, this is what it is. My family said, well, you know what to do the right thing, you know, and that's what I did. And I felt like at this point, I've been penalized for doing the right thing. So, you know, whatever happens here today, here's what I will say. I am in the best place of my life I've ever been. Mentally, spiritually, my mindset, I'm in the best place I've ever been. How people view me, what people think about me, at this point, I'm over it. Here's what I know. I'm in the electromechanics class, and my instructor, he plays these motivational videos every Monday. And a couple of months ago, he played this video, and the gentleman in the video said, God woke you up this morning because he's not done with you yet. There's still something for you to do. And out of all the people in that class, every morning he comes to me. He says, Spence, he said, God woke you up this morning because God is not done with you yet. That's not something that I was even in a place to receive, because so many mornings I wake up and so many nights I go to sleep thinking my life is over. And yet somehow in the midst of that, I still find hope. I'm not telling you these things because I want to impress you, because I don't really care what happens with this process, but I just want you to understand who I am. Lately, I've been thinking, what do I do after this to show that I'm not who I was? So I came up with some ideas. One is a halfway host called Fresh Out. What I learned in going home is, with people who have this stigma on them, it's very difficult for them to make strides in the positive, because everyone is afraid of, what if it happens again? Do we trust this person? And here's the reality. People with this crime are going to come back out into society. So I'm working on some things. I thought about a nonprofit organization called Banded Together, for people who have been victims of sexual assault crimes. And basically what I want to do is raise money to buy them instruments and to pay for their instruction. But I don't want just any instructor. I want instructors who play instruments, who are licensed therapists, to train them, because music has been freeing for me and for a lot of people. So I say, okay, why not take something that can be healing and work with a person who understands not just the musical side, but the emotional side of what it is to go through this trauma. Right? Those are the kind of things that I sit down and I think about. I'm working on a couple of books, just expressing, some of them are religious fiction. Some of them are life story. One of the biggest problems is, when you go through this situation, you don't want to tell anyone, this is what I did. And actually, it's the biggest part of the problem, because when you have to hide, people feel like you are hiding. And maybe I went through all of this to be able to help somebody else, But anyway, y'all don't want to hear me go on and on and on and on. I said my piece, whatever happens in a little while, I'm going to be out of here. And I got people that love me that still support me. I talked to my mom this morning about this. I talked to my cousin. I didn't even know you guys were coming today. I didn't get any notification. So, this is just my heart. This is just who I am. So that's
Well,
it.
certainly, Mr. McGee, we appreciate what you said, because it has been a long time. The date of this offense goes back to 1996.
Mhm.
So that journey since 1996, certainly we're interested in what situation is there, and, certainly plans when you're released, which is what you talked about, so that we can determine your suitability for parole. What we're going to do is, we've read, the documents that we have, and we've read about your incarceration, and based upon that, we have some questions, maybe,
Okay. All right.
and then we're going to talk about your case, and we're going to give you a decision, okay?
Yeah.
And we're going to start questions with Mr. Gard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good. Thank you.
So I'm trying to figure out, because, you haven't received any DRs at all, right? And then when I was reading the violation of probation, what was going on, why wouldn't you reach out to probation and say, hey, can I, I'm seeing this woman who's got a couple of kids or grandkids. Can I be in contact with those individuals? Why weren't you proactive? Because you seem to have a good skill set, no DRs, and seem to be doing everything right. I was trying to understand what was going on at that time?
Okay, good question. So here is the situation. The person involved was a coworker. There were certain people in my company who were aware of my charges. My DM, I told him when he wanted to promote me, I told him, my immediate manager, I told her, but everyone in the circle was not aware. This situation happened very fast and very quick. And to be honest, I think a lot of it was, I was worried about, like I said, I had built a place to stay, I had car payments, insurance, name it. And I think fear, I was kind of like, God, what if I lose my job? You know what I mean? And, you start thinking, what if I lose the job? What if I lose the apartment? And so on and so forth. And there are some things that are not factually correct in the actual report. I just finally recently saw the report. And I think it said something about this situation was like months and months. That was not the case. This was over a few weeks, maybe 4, maybe 5. But the reality was this: I should have done better. I should have 100% gone to him immediately. And like I said, I think it was probably more fear than anything. But guess what? You know what this did? It taught me a lesson because now, since that time, I don't know if you realize I was home for about 1.5 years as this was all going on. Every individual that I met after this, where we went out on a date or whatever it was, day one, I was like, hey, this is the situation. This is what you need to know, And so, all you can do is learn from it.
Help me out with this question, because I see that you're enrolled in OED, but I made a note, but it might not be wrong. That's why we always ask it. You chose not to participate in programming. Is that accurate or not accurate?
That is not accurate.
Okay.
On my OAP, there is no programming required because during my bid, I did voices, anger management, the offender program, thinking for a change.
You did that in the past, right?
Yeah, I did all of that when I did the bid. So as a matter of fact, I wish I had the paperwork with me. I actually wrote to getting programming just to, have something fresh. And they told me that I'm not a consideration because I don't have any of my OAP, and they have to deal with the people who actually are required to take.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just wanted to get clarification from you. And then on substance abuse, you don't have any problems with alcohol or drugs?
No, whatsoever.
Okay, so what help or assistance do you think you might need when you are released?
One of the things that I found helpful for me was I was doing individual counseling on my own. And I found for me, having someone that is not in a place of judgment, but is just there to listen and to help and navigate. Sometimes we go through things and we're like, okay, some things you foresee coming, and some things that, like this situation, it pops up and you're like, okay, whoa, kind of didn't see this one coming. I think having people to go to say, like, which I do have, a fantastic support system, that I go to them and I say things to them and they're like, okay, all right, but it's like, I feel comfortable enough now, to go, that I have people that I can go to and say, no matter what the situation is, say, hey, this is what it is. And you're like, all right.
Yeah, and I think we all need that. We need help to navigate because we can't navigate all ourselves all the time, right? I mean, I rely on my colleagues on navigation, some things too. So I get it. So thank you very much for having a conversation with me this morning.
No problem.
Thank you. Whenever ready.
Well, to be honest, he answered, most of my questions. You're in a very difficult situation. Yeah, your particular situation. And I do think that in the reading I did, that it was not mentioned as months, it was mentioned as weeks. So
Okay,
it wasn't mentioned as the months went by before it was weeks.
okay,
You're taking the vote, and I understand you've taken programming already in your prior bid. And, is there anything you would do different?
how far back you wanna go?
No, I don't want to go that far back. This past with your VOP. Anything different you would have handled, any way you would have handled that differently?
Yeah, I actually, with this person, like I said, everything kind of happened kind of fast. And I actually had started a conversation with her. I was kind of like, like I think they might have mentioned it in their, the trip to Clinton Crossing. And we were in the car because she shows up with them, and it was supposed to be her and I, and she shows up with them. I'm like, this is like really, so I started a conversation with her, and I was kind of like, listen, there's some things you and I need to discuss and blah, blah, blah. But they were, of course, in the vehicle. So I said, when we get back, from the shopping thing, you and I need to sit down and have a conversation. I think that was about week 3, week 4. And so I think you said, would I have done anything differently? Instead of having that conversation, because we did have the conversation afterwards, about a week or so later, I think the short answer would have been I would have had that conversation a whole lot later.
A lot sooner.
Yeah.
I would have avoided probably this whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Listen, thank you for answering my questions. Mr. Chairman, I have no additional questions.
So, I mean, then sentence ended this year, right? So what we're talking about, 10 months difference. He hasn't received any PRs. I was concerned about the programming, talked about the programming the last time, on the BOP, that's why I wanted to ask him, why didn't he reach out to probation to say, hey, listen, I'm in a relationship, I want to. And he talked a little bit about that. He's comes off very articulate, very smart, with the 10 months difference, so it's a flat sentence, 3 years.
Yes.
But yeah. So, I haven't granted additional.
I wouldn't disagree. We could provide a little bit more supervision for him.
Yeah.
Give him a chance if there is any additional programming to do on the outside, which we may ask him to do. I would say I would be inclined to.
Does he seem to take PSP back in what was it, 2000?
Yeah, this has been going on forever. And this has been going on forever. And although there was contact with minors in these particular things, I did not read anything that said that this was sexual in nature.
I agree.
Yeah.
So that's the deal. If you're having a different conversation, if that's the case.
Right.
He's 1996. Right. That's what we're dealing with 30 years ago.
Yeah.
He handled this and get away. That's all.
Yeah.
Right. Which was so
Halfway house.
So I have a halfway house, but so just to clarify, you've completed treatment for problem sexual behavior in the community?
Yes.
How long ago?
Okay, I came home in 17. I want to say around 2019.
Oh.
Yeah, right before COVID. COVID started 2019, yeah.
So, thank you. So where I'm at here, I don't want to do treatment for crime section behavior again. I want to do no contact with minors without parole permission. It doesn't, there is nothing here that
Yeah, it
says,
wasn't once.
right,
Yeah, so they talked about it's appropriate, but I get it.
right. I mean, the thing is, if there were another problem here and then, but there wasn't, right?
Yeah, so they went on to
The
talk
technical
about
violation.
prior criminal history and community supervision violations, but
But there isn't anything that,
no,
right,
well, I mean, even with the violation, I mean,
there wasn't anything of sexual nature.
right. Well, that's what I'm saying, if he
So,
reached out to probation, might not even be here before us.
right. So, halfway house placement, no contact with minors without full officer's permission. Okay?
Yeah.
Regarding Spencer McGee, 276260, I move to grant parole on or after February 28, 2024, with the following stipulations: halfway house placement, no contact with minors without full officer's permission. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Mr. McGee, you have been voted to parole. Your conditions will be explained to you prior to release, however you know them, right?
Yes, sir.
Just make sure you're mindful, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes this hearing for Mr. Spencer
Can I ask a
McGee,
question?
Hang on one second.
Okay.
276260.
Go ahead.
So it's parole to a halfway house?
Yeah, you said you wanted a halfway house, right?
Absolutely, sir.
Halfway house and then no contact with minors without parole officer's permission.
I appreciate you
You
so
still
much.
have to.
You gotta think this time. You gotta
Yeah,
think this time.
Listen,
You
lesson
gotta take a
learned.
different, gotta take a different tack,
Lesson
man.
learned, you know?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
have
gentlemen.
Can you have the CO send in the next person, please?
Okay,
Thank
Martinez,
you.
I'm out.
This case is infuriating. Just wait till I read to you about what it is that he's done. I can't believe the parole officer at the beginning, after this guy's done giving his long speech, how oh poor me, all I did wrong was do the right thing by telling the parole officer. And then he says, yeah, it's been a long time since your original offense. It's been real tough for you. In his speech, he goes on saying, this is, maybe all of this happened to me for a reason, so I can make a difference for me. When I read to you what it is that he has done, you are going to be as livid as I am. What a sham of a system. The entire system is broken, and we just saw it again. Thank you, Richard, for providing this. Let's go through this because you're I would say you're not going to believe it, but you'll believe it. You'll believe it. This guy literally has just been offending his entire life. Only when he's not out. After Spencer McGee was sentenced to a suspended, mind you, Georgia sentenced him to a 10-year suspended prison sentence. So he didn't serve 1 day in jail for sexually assaulting 3 young boys. 3. Now, what did Georgia do? They just said, get out of our state. Can you just think about that? This is our system where they don't care about children in other states. They don't care about children in general. They just get out of our state. And guess what happened? Wow, who could have predicted that he then moved to Connecticut and then he started sexually assaulting a 7-year-old boy? 4 years later, that's when he was caught. How quickly do you think he started? The assault continued with that 7-year-old boy until he was a teenager. Now, this monster was sentenced to 25 years in prison, but suspended after 18 with 20 years probation. Now, we know that according to him, he had served 7 years, 6 months, and 21 days. So, he didn't get that much time. He didn't get all those years because he got parole. He said it like it was such a 7 years, 6 months, and 21 days. But all of this happened to me for a reason. It's unbelievable. He pleaded guilty earlier to 3 counts of first-degree sexual assault, 2 counts of risk of injury to a minor, and 4 counts of second-degree sexual assault in exchange for sealing on his penalty. Assistant State Attorney Sandy Tulia said that when Georgia law enforcement authorities learned McGee had once again been convicted for extensive sexual conduct, this time in Connecticut, they wanted him to get the maximum sentence. Don't you love it? The assistant state's attorney now, when it's out in the news, he's going, oh, give him the maximum sentence. Did they extradite him to Georgia? Did they say come back here and serve a sentence? No, because they talk out of two sides of their. It's sick. There was no indication Friday that Georgia authorities want to extradite McGee for violating the terms of his release. He owes them 10 years. Someone should make a fuss about this. Someone should make a fuss about this. They should extradite him to Georgia. If this stuff was public, I do believe they would extradite him, because the DA would say, oh, no, I am tough on crime when they get up into their little speeches. You think if all the families that go and elect them into office know that they are literally the cause of this child that was then assaulted, this DA, it's on his hand. It's on his mind. It's on him. Or at least the judge. McGee's Connecticut victim says the jail sentence means that I'll no longer will have bad dreams at night. The young man called it a close of a dark chapter in his life. He described the sentencing as a day when both our lives changed, one for the better and one for the worse. Hartford Superior Court Judge Elliot Selman said that although he wished the victim all the best in recovering, he believed the young man may never put this behind him because such sexual assault typically create a lack of self-esteem, trust, self-worth, and youthful victims. Yes, it does, Judge. However, the judge continued, I admire the courage he showed in coming forward to report the crimes. Some don't come forward, for incredibly they believe they're the ones who did wrong. Before the sentencing, the victim's father in court with his wife, the victim's mother, told the judge, I can only hope and pray that McGee gets the help where he is going. My son is a hero for coming forth and standing up. And I agree, he is a hero. The father said that he used to look upon his friend. Of course, he was a friend of the family, right? Until he breached our trust. And remember, he was caught now dating a woman with young children. And he plays it off like, oh, I did nothing wrong. I was dating her. I had no idea she had kids. None at all. I was just taking her out to dinner, and then the kids showed up. So I told the parole officer, and if you believe any of that for 1 second, I got a really, really, really nice bridge to sell you. Pick your choice. The Brooklyn Bridge, the George Washington Bridge, I don't know, some other bridge somewhere. You can have whatever you want. But she also took some responsibility for inaction. McGee violated your trust. He violated our trust. We are guilty here today, she said as she looked right at the victim's parents. Wait a minute. McGee's great aunt, said the victim's parents knew McGee, and based on their allegations about what he did to their son, they should have prevented further problems early on. Solomon said that he was taken aback by Millen's statement that the victim's parents should assume part of the blame for the attacks on their son. He said most people would never have given him another chance after his first conviction for molesting 3 Georgia boys. Wait a minute. Are they saying they knew about? What am I missing here? McGee's great aunt said the victim's parents knew McGee well, and based on their allegations about what he did to their son, They should have prevented further problems early on. But she also took some responsibility for inaction. McGee violated your trust. He violated our trust. We are guilty here today, she said, as she looked right at the victim's parents. Is she blaming the parents? Are you kidding me? You know, these type of offenders always have some family member in their corner. Solomon said he was taken aback by Milling's statement that the victim's parents should assume part of the blame for the attack of their son. He said most people would never have given him another chance after his first conviction. If they knew about it, yes, yet the victim's parents did what every thoughtful, kind person should do: give a convicted man a chance to redeem and rehabilitate himself. It seems that they didn't know. And no. Parents don't do that. I defend people. I don't defend actions. No one human being can be assessed on one set of facts, said Mickey's lawyer, assistant state public defender. He has an illness, an excessive compulsive illness. And they're letting him back out. And this parole board did not hold him accountable at all. They actually said, oh, it was a long time ago, the offense. Literally, if you look back from his initial offense until now, he's only had 5 years out of prison before being caught dating someone with young children. He only had to back up 3 years. I mean, even his defense attorney says he has an illness, an excessive compulsive illness. What do you think he's going to do? Well, this is madness. This is madness. Georgia gives him a 10-year suspended sentence. Things like that need to be in the news. The idea that a state, when someone is caught molesting 3 boys for years, and they just say, get out of our state, and they send him to another state where then he does it for years, starting with a 7-year-old until he's a teenager, and people don't know about this. And then Georgia doesn't even want justice. They don't even bring him back and extradite him to serve those 10 years. People don't know about this. And that's why we do this, because this is something that everyone needs to be aware of. We need to hold our prosecutors and our judges accountable, because in my opinion, it's blood on their hands. You are living in a fantasy world if you think that this man will not reoffend. And Georgia has the ability right now to lock him up for 10 years on violation. They can. But they won't. They won't. Now, I you know, this is the type of thing that I wish you could pick up a headline, because if it does, people would care. You know, people would care. It's just about making the noise in the right places. I don't know how to get. There should be some type of organization that does this. It's not me right now, but there should be something. Anyways, probably wouldn't believe it if you didn't see it. And with that, I'll let you go.